Hey there, guys. Mitakai Oyesin, all my relations. That's all of you. So, I think after 5 videos of conversations I've been having with individuals, although the first video was with a married couple, that it would behoove me to tell you what I'm hoping to accomplish and my thoughts on all of this. Hopefully, my thoughts have come through, but there I may need to provide some clarification. And to be perfectly honest, I uh, always wanted to get into this. I always wanted to have these discussions. Uh, Back in November or December, I started doing videos with mostly prepared, some off the cuff, and they were very focused. Whereas this is more of a conversation between me and you. I realize that you can't hear that we're not actually having a conversation, but I wanted to give this a shot. Maybe someday I'll do a podcast, maybe not. Certainly not with the equipment that I have right now because I'm having too many mistakes, too many equipment failures, and I know right now that this video is staticky. So here I go. One of the people that I listen to, Dennis Prager, uh, he says he's been asked, "Well, Dennis, how do I have a podcast of my own? What do I need to do to know that I'm ready for this?" Dennis said, "Well, it's very simple. You need to be able to sit down in a room by yourself and talk engagingly for 60 minutes on a regular basis." Now I'm going to meet him halfway. I'm hoping to keep this at no longer than 30 minutes, perhaps shorter. And here we go. I do not approve of the movement Black Lives Matters. It seems to me absurd to that I would need to say Black Lives Matter, uh, as if to prove that they matter. Of course they do. Um, the guy I had the last conversation with, Mark Tassi, actually said life matters, which was something I was thinking about moving toward myself. But he actually does this, and he's absolutely right. Life matters. We're talking about the entire concept, the entire fabric of life as it is granted to us, I believe, by a benevolent higher being. Life matters. I am not in this game, and by game, I'm talking about my life, my interactions with people day by day. Most of the overwhelmingly, those interactions are actual physical interactions. I'm actually talking to people as opposed to doing this, but we can count this as an interaction too. My purpose in life, let me back that up a bit. I believe that the purpose, the point of anyone's life is twofold. One, you learn all that you can, and two, you share that knowledge with others. Now, whether or not the other person is receptive, that's on that person. But what I've learned and how I practice my life is to bring the maximum comfort, the maximum solace to all people at all times. Of course, I'm a human being. So that means that sometimes I get fatigued, I get grumpy. I'm not always on my game as much as I like to, but I try. And when I fall short, I have the fortitude, have the integrity to examine that and say, I've fallen short and make the amends that I need to by not only confessing to myself, but confessing to the people that I let down. My life has been about helping others. My life is about shining my light. So I've been doing this all my life, and much of my life, much of the way that I approach life has not changed. I am still seeing the individual value and individual dignity in each and every person that I meet, or even read about, or watch on an interview, or on a production like a movie or a TV show. And I will treat that person with dignity until, hopefully not, but until that person would prove to me otherwise. I've been doing this all my life. I treat everyone very well. I treat, I make a point of, say I'm at some setting, and say, for example, the janitor walks in, the custodian walks in. I make a point to talk to that person, because that person may not really may not have all that many interactions with people. Most of the interactions might be with other custodial workers. I say a homeless person, if I don't have any money, and actually I don't believe in giving money, I believe in giving food, but I also believe in giving time of day. So I talk to the homeless person. I'll introduce myself. I'll have a conversation. Because I've also realized that what most people, what everybody wants in life, is to be acknowledged. That their hopes and dreams and aspirations and their very existence have meaning. I've been doing this all my life. And it served me very well. It served the people that I interact with very well. Somehow, along the line, what I have been doing is not good enough. And according to some people, is, quote, racist. In other words, bigoted. It is prejudiced. It is not good enough. Recently I got called a troll simply because I asked somebody in a YouTube comment, why can't we see the position of the other person instead of just taking a behavior, taking the outward expression of that position, and then use that to harshly judge the person. I do not see Black Lives Matter, the organization, as helping Black lives. I do not see Black Lives Matter as helping life. It is on the website. They make it very clear that they want non-westernized family structures, hierarchical structures. They talk poignantly about extolling the black child, the black woman, I believe the black family, the black group. Poignantly do not mention black men. They also speak poignantly about what they want, the black people they want to come to the hierarchy, in their hierarchy of position, are black queers. So we're talking about gays, lesbians, transsexuals. As Seinfeld said, nothing wrong with it. I'm not criticizing that. I'm criticizing the idea, not even the idea, the fact that they are saying that these people need to be at the top. And I'm telling you, nobody needs to be at the top. I guess what I'm saying is that there should be no top. That we, the collective humanity, are here to serve each other, to take care of each other, to impart dignity firstly to ourselves, and then toward each other. There is no top, there's no hierarchy, there is no need to rule. There is no need to direct. So just that Black Lives Matter believes there should be a power structure, a hierarchical power structure, is absolutely anathema to any sort of humane thought that I could ever conceive. Many, I don't know many, but you can watch Black Lives Matter spokespeople on TV and in videos, and they say black and brown lives. but there's nothing about black and brown lives in the website. There's nothing. Uh, they mention people named Brown, right? But not brown lives. And let's talk about my Cherokee family. Let's talk about my Lakota and Lenape friends. Let's talk about my Asian friends. Let's talk about my Muslim friends. And let's talk about the entirety of my black family, because there are many people, black people named Still. And though there are not, as far as I know, too many black conservatives named Still and black libertarians named Still, there are black Democrats, black liberals, who are against the idea, the whole notion of Black Lives Matter. I have been to too many funerals of black men, always men, young men, older men, gunned down on the streets by other black men. Black Lives Matter has nothing to say. David Doord, that annoys me to no end. This was a black man who was murdered by a rioter, by a looter in St. Louis. He is a retired police chief. He had a job providing part-time security for a friend's pawn shop during the riots, and he was shot by a young black man. Black Lives Matter was not there. It is my conviction that Black Lives Matter is causing harm. And because they are causing harm, I stand against them. Again, Black Lives Matter. Life matters. I do not need to proclaim that to prove my bona fides, that I care about life, that I care about black life, that I care about life, period. Black Life Matters would have me do that so that I can prove to them that it matters, that they matter. The organization is, I'm not going to go as far as saying they're a hate group, as some people say. I'm saying they're incompetent, inept. They are falling far short. And maybe it's not even competency, because it's really by design, isn't it? If Black Lives Matter were to appear at these funerals, if Black Lives Matter got involved with all these lives, all these people gunned down, black folks gunned down, murdered somehow, injured somehow by other black folks, if they got involved in those issues and came to the realization it's not just about blacks being harmed by whites, that's just one part of the puzzle, one part of this insane tapestry. If they address this and address it with compassion, then yeah, I get behind them. Absolutely. But they're not doing that. And if they were to say on their website and in their hearts, black and brown lives and all life matters, then I get behind them. If they're trying to elevate one segment of black lives, if they change that to actually mean black lives and not just the queer subset of black lives, and they realize that also the black conservatives and the black libertarians and the black liberals, who all right now don't see a point and only see harm coming out of this focusing, this razor-sharp focusing on just narrow segments of the population. Black Lives Matter, the organization, expanded their focus and expanded their assistance to humanity in American society. Yeah, I get behind them. But that's not happening. And if they were to turn around and do that tomorrow, yeah, I would be incredibly suspicious. Would have to be a sustained effort from them before I would start to take such such overtures seriously. But let's go a little bit further here. I am saying what I say, and I believe in what I believe because I believe that it's making a difference in people's lives. Black Lives Matter and the rioting making a negative difference. What, say, my approach to humanity, and not not completely, but a lot of what black libertarians and black conservatives believe in, and even white conservatives, that it makes a positive difference in people's lives of all background, of all hue, of all cultures. So I'm aware, I like to think I'm aware of all the arguments of how whites are just bad people, and so many of us are racist, and so many of us are keeping the black person down. But I'm also very aware of the conservative arguments. I'm also very aware of the historical arguments. Before the passage of of the before welfare became a thing during the Lyndon Johnson administration, and I'm going to have some of the statistics wrong. I'm going to be in the ballpark. 75% of black families were intact. Black men were not in the habit of abandoning their families. And I say black men, I'm talking about in certain urban cultures. Okay? I'm not making blanket statements. The idea that there is one black culture is ridiculous. The idea that there is one white culture is ridiculous. The idea that there's two white cultures is ridiculous. Either pro or con, good or bad, bigoted or open. It's ridiculous. If you bring 20 people in the room of any color or of mixed backgrounds, or of the same background, same color, same neighborhood, same street, bring 20 people into any room, you're going to get 20 different takes on whatever subject you bring up. So there is no such thing as this huge monolithic culture. So with the passage of these laws which allowed welfare, which allowed handouts, forgive me for the word choice, which allowed payments for poor families, and this wasn't just focused on blacks, this was focused on poor people, period. Well, there wasn't the incentive for the black man to hang around the household. There wasn't the incentive to maintain that Western family structure that Black Lives Matter is talking about. In fact, even though there were riots, even though there was violence, even though there was horrible, bigoted, hateful acts perpetuated by the white power structure upon poor people, not just poor blacks, but poor people, period. Blacks, unfortunately, and other, quote, cultural minorities, ethnic minorities, a lot of them were poor because of the power structure, because so many bigoted white men kept them down. Well aware of this. What I'm saying is that despite that, black folks achieved. Despite that, black folks opened their own businesses. Despite that, black folks became extremely literate in a matter of decades after the end of the Civil War, when it was a crime to teach a black person how to read. Again, don't know the exact numbers, but a large number I don't know, between 60 and 80%, black folks learned how to read and read well. They took care of themselves. Now, I say they, I say they, I'm talking about we. We Americans took care of ourselves. There were riots. In fact, a number of the riots, I guess all of the riots, started because black folks were achieving so well that the mealy-mouthed, insect-minded white individuals got peeved at this, and because they didn't know how to deal with it, they just decided to go around killing people and terrorizing people. Black folks were doing everything to achieve the American dream. Along comes the 50s. Along comes civil rights. Along comes landmark Supreme Court cases that struck down separate but equal, because that was ridiculous. The separation is never equal. Along came Brother Martin Luther King. Along came Brother Malcolm X. And they advocated, and they marched, and they fought for equality. Brother Martin believed in not judging anyone by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And he was a radical. No matter how people might try to describe him otherwise, he was a radical. And he stood by his convictions, and he changed so much. Brother Malcolm, I'm not with him when he said that we don't need the white folks, that the white folks are devil. I am with him when he says, well, actually, let me take that back. I'm not with him when he says we don't want the white folks because the white folks are devils. I am with him when he says we don't need the white folks. We don't need to be able to sit in the front of their bus. We don't need to be able to go into their coffee house, their restaurant, and offer and order a cup of coffee and drink it there in peace. We need to take care of ourselves. And that's where Brother Martin and Brother Malcolm and Brother Mark still are in lockstep. The first thing that we need to do, anyone, is to take care of ourselves, to look upon ourselves, and to bring healing to our own souls, to shine our light into their own world after we realize what that light is. Never give up the search for it. The idea that in the 50 years since the civil rights demonstrations and marches and speeches, since the I Had a Dream speech, since the deaths of Brother Martin and Brother Malcolm and the two Kennedy brothers, John and Robert, brothers, family all, the idea that in that time, all of the accomplishments, the grand accomplishments by not just blacks, by non-whites, the people that have come to ascendancy in sports, in entertainment, and business, minds, brilliant minds in politics, businesses, CEOs, so many fields. There have been so many achievements. And the idea that we are just supposed to say they amount to nothing, the idea that the same people who have achieved these things are saying that or some say that their community, their words, their community, their black family, their friends, it amounts to nothing. The idea that they would I was trying to say despise and dismiss at the same time. It came out as disfit. I don't know why, but the idea that they dismiss and despise people like Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, uh, uh, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, even Candace Owens. I don't always agree with Candace Owens, but I respect her point of view because that's her point of view. She came to these conclusions for a reason. And we have to know the reasons and have to try to understand them instead of just dismissing them as her not being black. Because you take a look at any picture of her, guarantee you, she's black. For so many people, not only within the black communities, but in the white communities, to actually say all these achievements mean nothing. All of these achievements do nothing to counter, not counteract, to refute the idea of white supremacy and systemic racism. That all these people and all these black conservatives, that it means nothing. In fact, they are traitors to the cause. To argue this is inhumane. So I don't take this position because I desire to be right. I don't take this position because I desire you or anyone to be wrong. I take this position because I believe in the dignity and the integrity of every single human being until I am proven otherwise. That Larry Elder and Candace Owens and Random Tatum and Thomas Sowell have a different point of view doesn't mean that they have disproved their innate dignity and integrity. I am fighting, and I will expend every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears toward the health of humanity and the health of American society and the health of my brothers and sisters, regardless of cultural background or skin hue. This is what I believe in. This is what I fight for. This is what I devote my life to. And with that, that's all I'm going to say for now. I hope that this is helpful to you in some way. I hope that I won't be attacked because I believe this. I hope I've explained myself in an acceptable way. And if I haven't, please just ask me for clarification. Please have a conversation with me. And please have conversations with others who may not believe in everything that you say. You know, before I go, I recently read a quote from, I forget the gentleman's name, but he led the Navy SEALs on the attack of Osama bin Laden, the successful attack. And he said something along the lines of how people from this generation, so I guess that's Generation Z, maybe some millennials, maybe both, how they're loyal and they care about their friends, and he feels optimistic. And there is that. There's absolutely that. But I have witnessed people's loyalties changing like that. Because if a person starts to say something that is not part of the group think, person says, oh, I don't know, if we should be hating Candace Owens, for example. I don't know if we should be rioting. I don't know if we should be ignoring the death of David Duard. Then that person becomes persona non grata. That person becomes a sellout, not black, not brown, whatever. The loyalty is really a sort of, not even a sort of, this loyalty is a bullying loyalty. We need to listen. We need to invite people to dialogue. We need to listen. And that doesn't mean we need to change our views, but we need to be willing to change our views. In other words, I don't go into conversation saying, well, either I'm going to change my view or not, or that person's going to change his view or not, and that will dictate how I feel about that person. You go into a dialogue with the idea that you've opened a dialogue, and that there's a possibility that exists that there could be some kind of meeting of minds, and that some kind of change can happen. Change needs to come from in here, because as I said in the beginning, people, everybody, just wants to realize that they're being heard. They want to be heard. They want to know that their ideas and values have merit. And once we can achieve that, once we can actually prove to somebody we're listening, hearts and minds can change. Hearts and minds will change. And this American society, this utopia that we dream of, may actually happen. But it's not going to happen through force. It is not. Force allows things to manifest, to happen for limited times, limited periods. Life is so much more than that. I am so much more than that. You are so much more than that. So, peace four fingers in this staticky screen, and hopefully I'll have another conversation by the end of the week. It would be nice to do one of these in the beginning of the week and a conversation at the end of every week. We'll see. Wish you peace. Godspeed. Bye for now. Hey guys, just got done watching this and I realized I left something out. So I had 5 conversations, and except for the last conversation, I really didn't expect anyone to say, yeah, there's only one race. Didn't expect anyone to say, yeah, it's all lives matter, not just black lives matter. And I spoke to conservatives, liberals, libertarians. So the point is this, that all of us have our say, and that there is something of value to take away from all these different cultural viewpoints, from these different arguments, be it from libertarians, conservatives, independents, progressives, liberals, that we all have something worthwhile to say. We all have something worthwhile to try to put into fruition, and that all of us need to listen to each other. So that's it. I see ya. I gave you a piece 4 fingers, but I'm actually holding this laptop up, which is why the screen feels so shaky. I'll talk to you soon.